Never stop reading Bible. We're diving into a story today where a perfect, divine plan and a complete, catastrophic human failure happen at the exact same time. It's a real tale of two covenants, one of creation and one of crisis. And this right here is the heart of the conflict. Just try to picture this scene. Way up on a mountain, a sacred law is literally being carved into stone by God. But at the very same moment, down in the valley, that exact promise is being betrayed, melted down into a golden idol. Two totally opposite things happening at once, defining this one critical moment. So let's start where the plan began, on the mountain. Before everything went wrong, there was this incredibly detailed, divine blueprint for how heaven and earth could actually meet. And it was all centered around creating a holy space, the tabernacle. What's so fascinating is how personal this all was. I mean, this wasn't just a general call for volunteers. God specifically calls out the craftsmen by name, people like Bezalel and Aholiab, and fills them with the skill and wisdom they'd need. It just goes to show how much this whole project mattered. And the instructions? They were crystal clear, laid out in this perfect logical order. First, get the right people. Second, build the sacred items. And third, establish the sign of the whole relationship, the Sabbath. You see, this was never just about building a tent. It was about building an entire way of life. And the Sabbath, well, that was the capstone to the whole thing. It was meant to be so much more than a day off. It was designed to be this permanent, visible reminder of the covenant, an eternal promise, a weekly rhythm of rest that pointed back to the special relationship between God and his people. And finally, the blueprint becomes something real, something tangible. The whole plan, the law, the covenant, it's all handed to Moses on 2 stone tablets written by the very finger of God. I mean, talk about sealing the deal. This is a direct, physical promise. But, and this is a huge but, while this perfect plan was being finalized on the mountain, a completely different story was unfolding down below. And the shift from divine order to human chaos is it's jarring and it's immediate. With Moses gone on the mountain for what must have felt like forever, the people's patience just snapped. Fear took over. What if he wasn't coming back? They felt lost, abandoned in the wilderness, so they turned to his brother Aaron with a demand that would change everything. Make us a God who can lead us. And so they did. They gathered up all their gold, their jewelry, and forged it into a golden calf, an idol. This wasn't just a small slip-up. It was a flagrant rejection of the very first rule in the covenant they had just agreed to. It was the ultimate betrayal. God sees this from the mountain, and his reaction is pure fire. He literally tells Moses he's going to wipe them all out and just start over with him. So the stakes couldn't be higher. The people's very existence is hanging by a thread, because the covenant wasn't just broken. It was shattered. You might be wondering, why such an extreme reaction? Why was this one act of idolatry so completely devastating? Well, the answer lies in the immediate and brutal consequences that followed the moment Moses came down that mountain. 3,000. That's the number. That is how many people were executed that day. Moses, seeing the absolute chaos, commands the Levites, his own tribe, to restore order by striking down the main ringleaders. The cost of this betrayal was paid in blood. So, in the aftermath of all this, the camp is in mourning, and the relationship with God is in absolute ruins. The crisis now shifts from what the people did to what God is going to do about it. And there's only one person standing in the middle of it all: Moses. And here is the new crisis, the real heart of the problem. God says, fine, I'll still give you the land I promised, but I'm not going with you. Just stop and think about that for a second. They would get the prize, but they would lose the presence. They'd have the destination, but not the relationship. For Moses, this was just an empty victory, a totally unacceptable future. So Moses steps in. He doesn't even try to defend the people. What they did was indefensible. Instead, he appeals to God's own character. He reminds God of the promises he made to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Moses is basically holding God to his own word. It's an unbelievably bold move. This intense negotiation between Moses and God, well, that's the final chapter of our story. It's all about how you even begin to repair something that's been so catastrophically broken. Because reconciliation, it's not automatic. It has to be fought for.
And as you can see here, it was a fragile process. It wasn't an instant fix. First, you have the devastating consequence. I will not go. Then comes the passionate plea from Moses, who just refuses a future without God's presence. And finally, against all odds, God relents. He agrees to go with them. The relationship, though it's definitely scarred, is restored.
And that really leaves us with this final thought. This ancient story, it's not just about a golden calf. It's about a fundamental question that I think we all face in our own lives. After a deep betrayal, when trust has been completely shattered, what does it actually take to repair that damage and find a way to move forward together?
This explainer was brought to you by the Center Studio. Thanks so much for joining us.